Hello, so today a video about breakfasts. What type of breakfast can you have when you do the protocol for Candida? Because as you know, when you do a Candida protocol, you need to limit your carbs. So this is what we will talk about today. Before we start, you can please like this video, you can subscribe to my channel, and you can share this video if you like it. This will help me to be more visible on YouTube. You can also comment under the video. So if my videos help you in any way, you can help me doing that. Thank you. And also, of course, you will get notifications when I come out with a new video. I make at least one video each week. You can also visit my website, thecandidaslayer.com. I have a blog where I write articles regularly about health, about gut health, about natural health. I also have a course on how to heal your gut naturally, how to heal Candida, how to heal SIBO. So this course comes with a booklet of about 60 pages, and it also comes with a live Q&A each week. It's a Zoom Q&A where you can ask me all of your questions, and I will help you all along the protocol. So whenever you have questions, I'm here. And so that's for people who want to do the protocol the easiest way possible and the fastest possible without doing any mistakes. So I also have a Facebook group where you can join me. So the link of my Facebook group will be under this video, and the link of my course will also be under this video. Okay, so breakfast. What type of breakfast can you have when you do the Candida protocol? So when you do the Candida protocol, you want to limit your carbs. You don't want to eliminate all carbs. That was something I was recommending some time ago, but I don't recommend that anymore because it's very difficult to follow. And it's not good for you. It's not good for your hormonal system, especially for women. Women have a very sensitive hormonal system, especially when they change diet. So I've seen women losing their periods when they eliminated carbs for several weeks. So it's not good for the hormonal system. It's not good for the nervous system. It's not good for your liver. It's not good for your adrenals. So yeah, you need to keep eating a little bit of carbs during the protocol. So I basically have a protocol in 3 phases. Of course, each person is different, so it won't be exactly the same protocol for everybody. But basically in phase 1, that's when you want to limit your carbs to the maximum, to the minimum. And phase 2, you can have a little bit more carbs, and phase 3, a little bit more. Basically, the diet during the protocol, it's not too much carbs, no gluten at all. I don't recommend eating any grains, except maybe white rice for people who can tolerate white rice very well. But generally, I prefer to recommend easier to digest carbs like fruits and root vegetables. Okay, but you really need to eliminate gluten. You really need to eliminate wheat. I have seen many people who could not heal. They were doing the protocol and they were eating wheat. So don't eat wheat. And on the contrary, I saw people who were doing the protocol eating wheat, and the day where they decided to stop eating wheat, they felt much better and they could start healing. I also don't recommend eating legumes because legumes are hard to digest. I detail that in other videos, so watch my other videos if you want more details about that. So you will basically eat meat, fish, and vegetables. And when you do this Candida protocol during all 3 phases, it's basically animal products and vegetables, okay? And a little bit of carbs, as we will see. So first idea for breakfast, you can just eat the leftovers of your last dinner, for example. That's just the easiest. Depending where you live, in some countries like France, where I am from, people are used to eat lots of sugar for breakfast. And so for us French people, it's very difficult to change our habits and to switch from a high carb, high sugar breakfast to like a breakfast that is meat meat and vegetables. That is not normal for us. But as I say to French people, it's just a matter of habits. So you just need to change your habits, and it doesn't take that long actually. So after a few days of eating your breakfast like you would eat a dinner or a lunch, it would be the same type of meal for breakfast. You just get used to it. So don't be scared of this change during the Candida protocol. So yeah, you can eat the leftovers from your last dinner. You can have a cup of bone broth or meat stock. I have videos about that on my channel. So if you want more details, go watch my videos. So bone broth and meat stock are great to repair your gut, are great to repair leaky gut, because they are rich in amino acids and in minerals that are essentials for your body to rebuild its tissues. So it's a very good food medicine, and it's also very satiating. So I really like to recommend that. Of course, it will depend if you have histamine intolerance or not. So for people who have histamine intolerance, bone broth is not a good idea. Meat stock is easier to tolerate. But I've seen people who have very severe histamine intolerance, and they could not even tolerate meat stock. So you need to see for yourself. You need to try for yourself what you can tolerate and what you cannot. But usually people who have histamine intolerance, if it's not too severe, they are fine with meat stock. So again, if you don't know what it is, go watch my video about meat stock. And you can also basically eat a soup, any soup for breakfast. Of course, that will be better for winter time rather than summertime, but you can make a soup. So here we make our soup very easily with leeks, with potatoes, and with carrots, and with a piece of lard in the soup. That's how we cook soup. So you can have that for breakfast, for example. And again, don't be afraid of eating some potatoes or carrots. Again, if it's in small quantities, even during phase 1, it's totally fine. Another idea, you can drink vegetable juice. So I really like vegetable juices. Why? It's because, so I really recommend to eat vegetables when you do this protocol, but many people have a very irritated gut. So if your gut is very sensitive, if you cannot tolerate fiber, then maybe you won't tolerate vegetables. So cooked vegetables are easier to tolerate than raw vegetables. But if you don't even tolerate the fiber in cooked vegetables, then you can drink vegetable juices. And that's great because it's very nutritious, and it doesn't have the fiber. So it's very easy to digest. And yeah, it's rich in vitamins, in minerals, in enzymes. So that will help your digestion. It will bring the building blocks for your body to repair itself. And when you drink vegetable juices, you get a much larger dose of vegetables in your diet than if you were eating the whole vegetables. It's much easier to drink like a stack of celery rather than eating this whole stack of celery. So you can eat much more vegetables. Eat much more vegetables when you juice them. So I really like that. I really like vegetable juices. And so as you want to limit carbs during the protocol, it should be mostly green vegetables, but you can still add a carrot or an apple, for example, a small apple in your juice. Like you could juice, for example, celery and cucumber and maybe cilantro or something like that, and 1 carrot, let's say. So it will taste better. And it is a source of carbs, but it's fine. And carrots are great to heal the gut also. So or you can replace the carrot with an apple, a small apple, and it's the same. As long as it's organic, it's great. And apples and carrots are also very good. Are both very good for healing the gut. And also when you juice, you can also put turmeric, ginger, but the real plant, not the powder. So you can use the ginger, the turmeric. So it's great to add some herbs and spices if you can tolerate them, of course, in your juice. So of course you can combine different things, like what I will list today. You can combine some of these things together. Like, for example, you could have like the leftovers of dinner plus the vegetable juice, for example. Another idea is buckwheat. So I really like buckwheat. So you can make a porridge, a type of porridge with buckwheat. So you just buy the buckwheat grains. So buckwheat is not a real grain. It's what we call a pseudo grain. It doesn't have gluten, and it's easier to digest than regular grains. And also it makes a gel when you put water on these grains, and the gel it's the same the same type of gel that you get when you make slippery elm gel, when you make a marshmallow root gel. So it's what we call mucilages, and this is great for your digestive system. It soothes your digestive system. It moisturizes your stool, so it's great for people who have constipation. It gives consistency to your stool, so it's great for people who have diarrhea, and it protects your gut lining. All substances like that have a gel have these properties, so it's very good for people with gut issues. So it's the case for buckwheat. Buckwheat makes this gel in contact with water. So anyway, as it's a pseudo grain, it still has anti-nutrients. So you should soak your grains of buckwheat before cooking them. So you can soak them overnight, and then in the morning you just rinse them and you cook it. You cook them for about 20-30 minutes, depending what type of grains it is. Just follow the recommendations on the package, and then you can make a porridge with that. You can put some pieces of fruits. You can add some raw milk if you tolerate raw milk perfectly. You can add some yogurt or kefir if you tolerate these foods perfectly. Of course, dairy is not really recommended when you do the protocol, because most people who have an injured gut have dairy intolerance. They also have histamine and yeast intolerance. So it is not recommended generally to eat dairy, and especially fermented dairy and fermented foods in general, for people who have Candida. But again, everybody is different, and I have seen people who had dairy intolerance and histamine intolerance who drank kefir, raw milk kefir, since the beginning of the protocol, from the beginning, and they healed their Candida, even though they had these intolerances. So everything is possible, and we are all different. But yeah, so in your buckwheat porridge, if you tolerate them, if you are 100% sure that you tolerate them, you can use kefir or yogurt. You can otherwise use almond milk or some vegetable milk like that. I don't really like these vegetable milks. Unless you make them yourself, that would be better, because usually they have nasty additives that I really don't like. Or you can just put some water to make it more liquid, your buckwheat porridge. But anyway, as I said, it has like a jelly consistency anyway with water, so it can be fine. You can also use like a tea. You can put like an antifungal tea to liquefy your porridge. I have a video about antifungal teas on my channel. It's an old video. But you can watch it. So there are several antifungal teas, like pau d'arco, like olive leaf, like cinnamon tea, etc. So you can add that to your buckwheat porridge. To make it feel a little sweet. So again, you are not supposed to use any sweeteners when you do this protocol, not even honey, especially not in phase 1. So instead, you can use like stevia leaves, but the natural stevia. Okay, so that would be a green powder. If it's a white powder, or if it is a liquid, it's not good. It has been processed way too much with chemicals, so that won't be good. But if it's the green powder, it's just the leaf of stevia that they took and they just ground it into a powder, so that's fine. You can also use licorice root powder. It has a very nice, very pleasant taste. It's naturally sweet, and licorice root is absolutely awesome for digestive issues. So even if it's sweet, it's really soothing on the digestive system, and it helps rebuild and protect the gut lining. And it's also very good if you have stomach issues, for example. So yeah, you can do that. You can also use a powder of cinnamon powder in your porridge, and that will give a nice sweet taste, but not too sweet, but it will give it a very nice taste. So that was another idea. You can just have the typical American breakfast of eggs and lards. At least that's the idea. That's my idea of the typical American breakfast. Maybe that's not so typical, but anyway, so eggs and lards. Just be aware that most people with not most, but many people with an injured gut are intolerant to eggs. Again, not everybody, but eggs is a common intolerance. So that's why I recommend that you do blood tests for food intolerances, not a finger prick test. Okay. Unfortunately, I understood recently that's what you have in the US. You don't have the normal blood test for food intolerances. So the normal test, they take a few tubes of blood. Okay, it's not just one drop of blood. The finger prick test is just a scam. So don't do that. Don't waste your money with that. But anyway, yeah, know your food intolerances before starting the protocol. That will help a lot. You can also eat a small fruit for breakfast. So choose the fruits that are not too sweet. Okay, the fruits that are less sweet are the berries. So like a handful of blueberries, for example, would be fine. You can have a small apple. You can have a small banana, but try to avoid like very sweet fruits like dates, like pineapple, like mango. That's a little too sweet, especially for phase 1 of the protocol. Regarding buckwheat, again, you can make buckwheat crepes or pancakes. I made a video recently to show how I make my buckwheat crepes. So in my video, I show how I ferment the flour before making the crepes. So again, if you have histamine intolerance, if you have dairy intolerance, if you have yeast intolerance, that won't be good because when you ferment with kefir or yogurt, you will have all of these things. So if you are intolerant to these things, you don't need to ferment your dough, your flour. Just use regular buckwheat flour. I also like to use teff flour. Those two flours are gluten-free and very easy to digest. So yeah, you can just make buckwheat crepes and for breakfast, and you can put an egg on top of it. You can also use salmon, like smoked salmon. Again, it will depend on your food intolerances, and if it's smoked salmon, that might not be good for people with histamine intolerance. You can eat avocados. Avocados are very easy to find, to eat. It's really satiating. It's good fat. So yeah, it's a nice thing to add. Again, be careful if you have histamine intolerance. Some people with histamine intolerance cannot tolerate avocados. It's not everybody. I had histamine intolerance and I had no issues with avocados. So you have to try for yourself. And talking about good fats, you can add some fat in the breakfast ideas I just mentioned. When you add some fat, you add some more nutrition, and you add some more calories. So if you are not too intolerant to dairy, you can put some butter or ghee. So if you are very intolerant to dairy, try ghee, but not butter. Ghee is usually easier to tolerate. If you are very, very intolerant to dairy, like I was, then don't use these. You can put like a tablespoon of extra virgin coconut oil, organic coconut oil, for example, on your buckwheat crepe or in your porridge. But please don't use margarine. So I recommend that you go read the article of the Weston A. Price Foundation about margarine and about vegetable oils. It's a very good article. And if you don't know that vegetable oils are bad for you, go read that article. I also have an article about vegetable oils in English on my website, in my blog. So go on my website, thecandidaslayer.com, and click on blog, and you will find my my article about vegetable oils. Another idea for breakfast. So I got this idea because when I did the protocol, the Candida protocol, I was living in Latin America. I was living in Costa Rica at the time. And over there, it's very common to eat plantain. So I think you know what it is. So it's like this big banana, and you buy it green and you fry it in your pan in like coconut oil, for example, or duck fat or whatever, whatever good saturated fat to cook. So you can, so you cut your plantain in small, like in slices. Sorry, you cut your plantain in slices and you fry them in like coconut oil on each face, and then you have like those round slices, and you can use it like to spread something on top of it. I liked doing that. So you can spread like, I don't know, tahini or whatever you like. So it's a way to replace bread, for example. If you like, you know, a piece of bread and spread some butter or whatever. So instead of bread, you can use a plantain. You can also use sweet potatoes. It's the same. You slice the sweet potatoes and you fry them in the pan, same. Or you put these slices of sweet potatoes in an oven and you grill them, and there it can replace your bread. So again, that's a lot of carbs. It depends how much you eat, but if you eat a little bit of that, not like a full big sweet potatoes, maybe that's too much, especially for phase one. But you know, 1 or 2 slices like that for breakfast is fine. And if you put some spices, so if you put some antifungal spices like cinnamon or stuff like that on it, you know, the antifungal spices and herbs, you can put, I don't know, oregano or whatever herbs that is also antifungal, and that will counteract the problem of the carbs that could feed infection. Okay, so you just need to think about doing things like that. If you have a meal that is rich in carbs, to compensate, you can put in this meal antifungal herbs or spices. I also like to recommend tahini. So I generally don't recommend people to eat seeds and nuts and nut butters because they are not easy to digest. They have anti-nutrients, they have fiber, so that can be an issue for people. Not for everybody. Like when I did the protocol, I was intolerant to so many foods that fortunately I could eat tahini, and I was eating tahini every day because I tolerated very well. And yeah, it was a very important source of calories for me because again, I was intolerant to so many things that tahini was one of the only things I could tolerate. So I'm not completely against nut butters. What I am against in nut butters are the additives. So try to always buy organic with no additives at all. And amongst all the nut butters, the one I prefer is tahini, because sesame oil is a polyunsaturated fat, but it doesn't go rancid as easily as the other vegetable oils. Okay, so there's something in the sesame oil. It's a phytochemical that protects the oil from rancidity. So if you want to use like a polyunsaturated fat, a polyunsaturated oil, or again a nut butter, So that will be the best option, sesame oil or tahini, because it's much um, much better. So, and you can also fast. You can just decide to fast and not have breakfast. Like me, I don't like to eat when I wake up. I'm not hungry when I wake up. So I usually start to get hungry like 2 or 3 hours after I wake up. So I recommend that you always listen to your body. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Eat when you are hungry. Don't eat, you don't have to eat because it's breakfast. If you're not hungry, just don't eat. So yeah, you can just fast, do like an intermittent fasting and have your first meal for lunch, for example. And for breakfast also, if you are 100% sure that you're not intolerant to dairy, to histamine, and to yeast, then you can have like a glass of kefir or homemade yogurt made with raw milk. That's great. But again, that's not something I recommend for most people in my protocol for phase 1 and phase 2, because again, most people are intolerant to these things. And with your breakfast, you can always have a tea, an antifungal tea, as I was saying, powder coat tea, cinnamon tea, or one of the teas I show in my video about antifungal teas. And I never recommend like things like rice cakes, things like that, because it's extruded, and the extrusion process is very bad, very toxic. There's an article from the Western Price Foundation about it. I will just read a piece of this article. So yeah, if you search in Google extrusion process Western Price, you will find this article of the Western Price Foundation. I will just read a piece of this article. So in the 1940s, they made an experiment on rats with puffed grains, and they found that it was very toxic. So I will read it. So they took 4 groups of rats. So 4 sets of rats were given special diets. One group received plain whole wheat grains, water, and synthetic vitamins and minerals. A second group received puffed wheat, an extruded cereal, water, and the same nutrient solution. A third set was given water and white sugar. A fourth set was given nothing but water and synthetic nutrients. The rats that received the whole wheat lived over a year on this diet. The rats that got nothing but water and vitamins lived about 2 months. The animals on a white sugar and water diet lived about 1 month. The study showed that the rats given the vitamins, water, and all the puffed wheat they wanted died within 2 weeks, even before the rats that got no food at all. These results suggest that there was something very toxic in the puffed wheat itself. Proteins are very similar to certain toxins in molecular structure, and the pressure of the puffing process may produce chemical changes that turn a nutritious grain into a poisonous substance. Okay, so I will never recommend these puffed cereals, these type of rice cakes and stuff like that. Anything that is puffed like that is very bad. So yeah, that's all for today. Those were ideas for breakfast, but of course you can use these ideas for other meals, for snacks, for lunch, for dinner, whatever. Yeah, if you have questions, you can put your questions under this video. And again, you can join my Facebook group. The link will be under this video. I answer questions over there. And yeah, you can go on my website. Again, I have articles about many different things, about herbs, about antifungal herbs that I recommend during the Candida protocol. I have the course. Again, the course includes a booklet that details everything you need to know about gut health and about Candida. And also it includes a live Q&A every week where you can ask me all your questions. Okay, I see you in the next video. Bye-bye.